Well, thanks for, I think people are starting to file in now, so I really appreciate you joining us today around a focus on crucial conversations within Catholic education. I'm joined by a fantastic panel, which we'll introduce shortly. My name's Josh Marshall. I'm the General Manager of Crucial Dimensions, and we'll do a bit of an intro around Crucial Dimensions if you're not aware of who we are and what we do. I first like to just provide an acknowledgement of country in terms of just paying respects to those in terms of the land in which we are currently meeting on in different locations around Australia, and just pay respects to elders past, present, and emerging. So just wanted to do that. I also want to pass over to Tanya, who's just going to lead us in a short prayer process that we're going to do. Tanya, I'll just pass over to you now, if that's okay.
Thanks, Josh. So I'm Tanya. I'm actually joining you today from Bendigo, which is the Jar Jar Wurrung country. Phoebe, could you move through the slides? Yep, yep, thank you. So we'll take a moment to become still in this busy day at the end of the week. We'll become aware of God's presence among us and within each one of us. And we'll start our prayer in the way we live our lives, in the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So Crucial Conversations really aligns well with our Catholic faith. And so the prayer I've chosen today really do want to focus on dialogue being such an important part of our Catholic faith. Phoebe, can you move through the slides? Yeah, so as the Catholic faith, we are called to be a people of dialogue, and we use our words as instruments of love. So we're going to listen to St. Paul's letter to the Colossians and the words of Pope Francis to really hone in the importance of us being people of dialogue and how this Crucial Conversations program fits in with that. Next slide, please, Phoebe. Devote yourselves to prayer, being watchful and thankful, and pray for us too, that God may open a door for our message so that we may proclaim the mystery of Christ, for which I am in chains. Pray that I may proclaim it clearly as I should. Next one, Phoebe, please. Be wise in the way you act toward outsiders. Make the most of every opportunity. Let your conversation always be full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. And as we know, our late Pope Francis talked a lot about dialogue. And this is a reflection from him where he said, to let your speech be full of grace and seasoned with salt is to speak the truth in love by being mindful that words have the power to break or connect communities. And if there is one word that we should never tire of repeating, it is this: dialogue. We are called to promote a culture of dialogue by every possible means, and thus to rebuild the fabric of society. And Phoebe, if you can take us to the next one. So short prayer to close. So, oh God, give us the courage to tell our stories and speak boldly of your truth. Give us ears to listen humbly to each other and a discerning heart to hear what you are saying. Lead your church in a hope-filled future that we may live the joy of the gospel. And we ask this in the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Tanya. I appreciate that. I just want to briefly touch on who's Crucial Dimensions. There are some familiar names on the webinar, and there's ones that I'm not aware of. So, just to provide you a bit of insight, Crucial Dimensions is the exclusive licensee for Crucial Learning's training programs out of the US. We've had that license for over 15 years now, and part of that, I guess, that stack of solutions and training that we provide is Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue. It really is the preeminent program that we teach and embed within organisations. And a lot of the work that we do within education is really building that capability within schooling environments. So you'll hear more about that today. I'm not going to labor too much around us because it's important to hear from the panelists and what they're going to share. But you'll see in this session today is really an understanding of the why, the journey of how the three dioceses that Tanya, Emma, and Daniel are part of, and also what we do with other schooling groups and other education providers. But you'll get an understanding of the journey, the application, and then you'll see the impact. And that's the kind of way that we want to structure today in the panel that we're gonna hold. So, in terms of the format we're going to do, we're going to hold Q&A really towards the end. If there are comments or there is questions that you've got that you just got to get out because you don't want to forget it, pop them in the chat. We'll moderate that and we'll make sure we cover that towards the end of the session. So, yeah, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Next slide, Phoebe. Okay. So I just want to run, as I said, the crux of what we're talking about today is really embedding that crucial conversations capability and how we actually build that muscle within schooling environments, and that's what we're going to share today. But I just want to just take a bit of a moment just to reflect on a couple of questions, and I want you to, if you can use the chat for me, that would be really helpful in how you want to respond and comment. So Phoebe, if you can go to the next slide, please, and just click once. I just want you to think about this. Think about a conversation that you've avoided recently, or you may have held poorly, and why was that? So it could be the topic, could be the person, could be whatever. So just I want you to reflect on that for the next maybe minute. And if you could put anything in the chat, that would be really appreciated that we can kind of we can look at. Yeah. Yeah, like that, Carolyn. Give it another 10 seconds or so. Conversation you've avoided, and why was that? Why did you avoid it? Or why did you become silent? Or how did you handle it poorly? Why did you handle it poorly? All right. Yep, that's good. Thanks, Jackie. Appreciate that. We'll go to the next question, if that's all right, Febby. Yeah, not sure where to start, Emma. That's exactly right. True. So taking that on board, I want you to think about, yeah, thanks, Emma. Now think about what's the kind of conversations within your environment, right? That feel the most high stakes. It could be in your role, within your schooling environment, or your organization, or in your personal world. I just want you to spend a minute or so to really think about what are those kinds of conversations that really do feel like high stakes, high importance around what you need to discuss. Just give it a minute. If you want to put something in the chat, that would be fantastic. I would say one for me in my past would be performance-based conversations are a big one. Yeah. Yeah. Giving bad news, Tanya, not great. Not always many stakeholders. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I think knowing that otherwise knowing that it feels as though it could be personal for someone is a really difficult one. Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, yeah, thanks for sharing those points. I appreciate that. And I think what's kind of clear is that it's the conversations that really matter to us is when it really becomes crucial. It's often the moments, and you'll learn this through the training, is that's when we do our worst, typically. And that's because we're not taught this stuff around how we deal with crucial conversations in a way that we can hold relationships, maintain a relationship, and still achieve an outcome. And that's what the framing is of crucial conversations. It's when, Febby, just the next slide, please. What you're going to learn about today is this is the framing of what a crucial conversation is, based on 30 plus years of social science research from crucial learning. It's really when there's opposing opinions, really strong emotions, and it's really important to me. The stakes are high. And I think it's really important framing for when we talk about, when Tanya and Emma and Daniel talk about the journey of what they've been on and where they're going with this within their diocese, to put that framing there. And you're probably thinking when you see that now, there's probably a bit more you could add to those reflections that we've done. But that's really what I want you to just understand. That's how we position a crucial conversation. So, and I think when we handle them poorly, we are avoiding them, or we're handling them in an incorrect way. The impact on culture, on leadership, the outcomes that we want to achieve really do suffer. And that's what we see within the work that we do with schooling environments in particular, is when we can really embed this stuff and really build that muscle within those environments, well-being improves, school culture improves, outcomes to students and parents really does start to flourish. So that's what we'll share today. I'm really excited to share to have the three of you on today, Tanya, Emma, and Daniel. I just want to get, if you could just do a brief introduction, and then we'll roll straight into some of the questions that we want to go through. So, Emma, did you want to kick off?
Sure, no problem.
Cool.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emma. I work at the Diocese of Catholic Education, Ballarat, in the position of Organisational Development Advisor, so in the People and Development team. Previous to that, I worked for numerous years in one of our secondary schools, so I have that on-the-ground knowledge of the challenges that our staff and families have in regards to crucial conversations.
Great, thank you. Tanya?
So I'm Tanya. I am in organisational development as well, as part of the People and Culture team at the Diocese in Sandhurst.
Thanks, Daniel. And Daniel?
Hi everyone, I'm Daniel Grunwald. I work for Max and I'm in the Learning and Leadership Development team. I have a previous background as a teacher too, and leadership consultant and researcher.
Okay. Thanks, Daniel. I probably should have mentioned the next how this webinar came about was through a session that Daniel ran up in the Catholic Education Conference in August, which was a taster into crucial conversations. So those on the call, you may have attended that. If you didn't, it was a really well attended event and really gave people a sense and a taste of what this training is about and how it can really impact your environment. So just wanted to mention that. All right, so we might kick off. So really, we're going to talk a little bit about the journey at the start. And like I said, if you've got questions or comments, fire them in there. We'll moderate that as we go. So really, this is kind of the why and the how we started. So I'm going to throw it to the team around what were some of the challenges that were highlighted that was really I kind of showed up for the need of your leadership to realise that something needed to change within the diocese that you're working.
Want me to go, Tanya, or you would like to go?
I'm happy for you to start.
That's fine. I guess for us, we found a pattern and noticed a pattern of different dynamics around all of our schools. So we have schools, that have a couple of staff with, 20 students, to schools that have, 180 staff to 200, over, up to 1,500 students. So big, different communities, but having really similar paths in regards to dynamics, in regards to how do I give performance feedback, how do I have, parent interactions when I need to give feedback about a student behaviour, and then also team conversations, and how do we collaborate better and have, really honest conversations. They weren't isolated if a school was small or a school was large. They were all exactly the same. And so our journey began in trying to find a framework that actually met the needs of that particular feedback or that particular pattern of conversations. And we felt that the crucial conversations framework really aligned with, and, following on from Tanya's prayer this morning, that dialogue component of our faith and what's important for us to continue dialogue in all of our conversations. So the crucial conversations gave us that practical resource. Our teachers and leaders were really keen for looking for a practical resource to actually give them clear intentions, help them provide that safety in a conversation, whether it be with a student, a parent, or a leader. And, from there, we've really aligned it with, our leadership capabilities, our leadership framework, and other, forging opportunities for us to, embed crucial conversations. So for us, we're up to probably year maybe 3 or 4, and have got some great momentum and great conversations happening throughout all schools.
Yeah.
Thanks, Emma.
Thanks, Emma. Look, all that very similar. We started our journey together with both Ballarat and Melbourne dioceses as well. So it was really good to work together to come with the framework and rolling this out. For us, there wasn't any specific challenges that were highlighted. But what we did see, on top of that we knew conversations weren't happening. And a lot of it was because the schools are such busy environments. And when you think about that crucial conversations framework, the work that educators do has such high stakes. And in a time-poor environment, often those conversations were avoided because people didn't have the time to do it and didn't have that really practical, where do I start to have this conversation? So what happened was that they were avoided until it hit critical point. And we were jumping into that really serious performance management pathway without actually ever really having those conversations to set the expectations and for improvement. And again, like Emma had said, our leaders were looking for those tools that were going to be easy for them to implement with every conversation. And, they pull out, they can pull out the framework and go, okay, this is where I'm going to start. And if it's a quick conversation, great. But if it's a long conversation, I've got the skills to maintain safety for both. And then you add that on top of, a tight teacher market. You can't afford to be not having quality conversations in the classroom because you need to keep your staff. It's about that well-being as well, but also, wanting to keep good teachers in the classroom.
Maybe I can add a little bit onto that as well, Josh. The reason that I've expressed interest in this, and Tanya's right, at Melbourne it began a lot earlier than me, is because a lot of our surveying of leaders indicates that the area where they most struggle is with proactively having these conversations, and that's particularly either with parents or peers. I think a lot of teachers feel really capable with students, but the framework that you guys have mentioned, the Crucial Comms framework, dovetails really nicely with a Christian way of thinking about resolving conflict. So I think that's one of the powerful reasons that the dialogue model works really well.
Thanks, guys. That's fantastic. And I guess, so what was one of the questions I've got is really what did the early stages look like? So you've positioned it with real leadership. They've kind of bought into that. Now we need to move forward with this. What do those early, stages look like from, the decision to move forward to those first training sessions and reaction within those environments?
Yeah, so I'll jump in. For us at Dobsell, we started with a small pilot small pilot program. So a group of principals and some key leaders, and went through, obviously with 2 hats on, learning the program as a participant, but also considering how could this actually be embedded in our schools, and this is a framework that aligns with us. So began with that pilot space, and the first encouraging feedback was how practical and how the framework actually is really easy to pick up and provide that consistent message throughout our schools. So because the location of schools are so sparse in every diocese, to have consistent messaging in conversations was really important to us, and that was one of the feedback that we received immediately. For us, the leaders that particularly took that pilot session or pilot program, came back, and then the word of mouth spread from there. So because it was so palpable, and the conversation model was so easy to pick up and relevant to how we can apply it in schools. It led from there. So from there, we now hold termly crucial conversation sessions for any school to jump on board to, and within those termly opportunities, we also have schools that reach out and put down and budget for PD to happen within, just for their particular leadership group or on site. So, we've gone from a pilot session to now being able to actually run term, but maybe twice a term sessions throughout the diocese. But word of mouth, because it's been so positive, has got us to the momentum that we've got to today.
Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Tanya, at all, or your side, has it covered it?
No, that covers it really well.
Mm.
Yeah, thanks.
Daniel?
I might just add a bit of a natural evolution. I think Emma said it really well, but it goes from, participating in the experience first yourself, piloting it, centralizing it for us, like having it in our leadership center. And then where it's going for us now is into regions. And then some of the more innovative, I think, leaders are going, wouldn't it be great if my whole school spoke like this to each other?
Yeah.
So if they can afford it, it's like I've got a few people interested in it for January 2026, trying to get their whole school on board, and we'll get to it later. But that's one of the challenges, because they don't have 2 days necessary to spend on crucial conversations. They usually have a day or half a day, but I'll leave that as it is.
Yeah, Daniel, that's a really good point. We are looking for next year of actually including this in the pathway for our early career teachers. As that, they have their graduate year, and that's a lot of focus on their teaching practice and pedagogy and classroom, behaviour and classroom management. And then potentially looking at targeting those towards the end of their second year into their third year of teaching, to actually start building these skills and the confidence to have the conversations, not only with their parents, but with their peers as well.
It's got a question. We're actually running on good time at the moment, so I usually hold questions to the end, but we'll get them as we go. Caroline McFarlane mentioned, which team in the office runs the PL twice per term, Emma?
Yeah, so there's 4 facilitators that we have, 2 of us from people and development team and 2 of our education consultants, so the mentor space for our principals. So we share depending on availability. And I mentioned to the team prior to today, we've got a session that's overbooked. So we've actually extended bookings for this next term, which is the biggest booking we've ever had, because we've had such big intake this term. And so 3 of us will actually facilitate that session in a couple of weeks with a group of leaders in Ballarat. So for us, the people and development team have 2, and then 2 of our leaders in our central office. We will share the availability depending on where the need is, but we also share the location of where the session is held. So knowing that we're in Ballarat, and we've got a school in Mildura, Horsham, down to Portland, we definitely share the location to try and capture those schools that are in those regions, so that everyone has an opportunity to step into that space.
Great, thanks, Emma. Daniel, do you want to add to that?
I was just going to add to Emma's idea that we also have had a lot of people want to join at the end of the year and sort of get it done. And one of the things we do to support that is add an extra facilitator, because it's nice to have a series of voices in the day. And from a facilitator perspective, it can be quite demanding as well. So to get maybe, like I think the first units get unstuck, for one of us to do that and the next one to do master my stories, and sort of swap it and get a bit of a cadence. So just maybe a suggestion for facilitation.
I think it's a really good point on really embedding. And so just so people are aware, a big part of our model is train the trainer, as you can hear. So having your own internal facilitators, not requiring external people like ourselves to come in and deliver the training. We want to embed that capability within the diocese to really then be able to support contextualization as well. So not just getting the standard scenarios and the things that we use out of the Universal Trainer Guide. We have supplement material that is really education focused, particularly around Christian as well, Christian education focus. So it really just lands with people. So probably the question I've got there is, you just want to explain, maybe one of you, just that train the trainer model. So really, why was that the right fit? I probably answered a little bit of that, but just that direction around why that works.
I'm happy to jump in here. So, like Emma and Daniel, we have multiple facilitators internally, both from a people and culture team and our school leadership central team, who facilitate, and we co-facilitate. So we always try and have two facilitators. Because as we know, in school environments, things happen. And sometimes the person who's supposed to be in front of the room is actually called to deal with something in a school environment. So firstly, that's one of the reasons we co-facilitate. But the trainer model works really well for us because we can choose to have smaller groups. So because we're not looking at paying an external facilitator, so we can be flexible with the numbers that we have in the training, and can do it for a smaller group, like a school that might want us to come and work with their leadership team. And there's sometimes only 5 or 6 that can actually attend on the days. We can actually deliver that. The other thing too is we have situations where we'll have a principal that'll be in the training and something will happen and they actually have to leave the training for the rest of the day or for several hours. And with our internal trainers, we go and catch them up. So we can actually go and catch them up on the piece that they missed. So they haven't lost their learning and it's not put on the shelf, and we're embedding it. And also our facilitators being within our people and culture team and within our school leadership team, in that too, is that we actually embed it into those conversations. So once you have a conversation with a leader about something that's not perhaps going well, we can actually start shaping the conversation and go, so have you thought about how you're going to have that conversation? Have you thought about that person's safety? And that is a common language that we're able to use internally as we build capability.
Right. I think that's the key, what you mentioned there, Tanya, is really what Crucial Conversations does, whether it's in a schooling environment or it's in a mining company, doesn't really matter. It's a common language, it's a common skill set that really just does permeate within an organization. And when leadership learn it, they model it, and then they advocate it, it just change happens. And it happens really quickly. And that's what I see. And I know, yourselves on the panel and peers as well. So question I've got, so you've talked about obviously the trainer model. Can one of you or both just explain a little bit around how you're rolling it out within the diocese? Like, what is a typical, maybe look at what does this 12 months look like in terms of you guys rolling it out, if someone can pick that one up?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. For us, the rollout is currently, considering we have, we booked in the termly sessions, but we're definitely open to, depending on where principals are feeling the need for smaller groups to jump into that session. So we have our internal facilitators, so us 4 that work with in those termly PL locked in spaces, but then the ability to actually share those with share that learning if there's a need in a particular school or zone. We also have just rolled out this year for the first time refresher training. So to really capitalize, I guess, we've met a group of people, we've had a fantastic couple of days, and we've built a great trust and rapport with each other to actually start our conversations when we're back in the workplace. But we had a refresher training at the end of last term for our sessions, term 2 and term 3, to really just encourage the conversations to still happen and to share any great opportunities that have led into the framework to have those conversations. So that was really great, highly attended and highly engaged, and we held that online so all of our schools could participate, but it was something that could continue the conversation and continue the rollout in a somewhat different way, but continually embed the framework and the language that's needed.
Anyone else? Any other perspectives? Daniel, what up for Max? How are you going about from a rollout perspective? Is it quite similar? Oh, he did have a few video issues before. Tanya, is that quite aligned in terms of what Emma's doing to Sandhurst? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, perfect.
Daniel's back.
Oh, Daniel, you're back. You didn't drop off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
From a Matt's perspective, is that quite similar in how you're going about it, or
I'm sorry, I might need to recap that. For some
just from a
reason,
rollout perspective, how
oh,
you've gone about
the
rollout
rollout,
this year?
say in terms of train the trainer model.
No, no, in terms of how you've gone about using Train the Trainer to then roll out the programs throughout the year.
Well, we're still using the same model in terms of we actually have an external as well. So we do a mix. So we have one external who's a former Catholic principal, John Finn, who helps us out. And then from our central leadership centre, we have people like myself and my colleague, Jackie, who are trained. And then we are training leadership or senior learning leads or leadership consultants within our office to be able to do this, because we also have 4 regions. And so, yeah, we're trying to get people in each region who are available to distribute this learning, because we're always full. So we're always full when we advertise cohorts. I think we probably ran about 6 cohorts this year centrally, and we did a number of teasers and tasters, and the interest in it is large, and we almost can't satisfy that interest.
So on that point, Daniel, and to the panel, has there been any like kind of moments or times when you realize when you've had that feedback from cohorts you've worked with where this is really starting to turn the dial, that it's really starting to make that impact that we know it can do? Is there anything you can share in that respect?
Yeah, I was thinking about this before, and I think largely it's a big generator of confidence for people. So a lot of people, including senior leaders, have been stuck on that idea of, I want to be nice and validate the dignity of the person, so I don't know where to start. And one of the richness of the model is that there's a major concern with generating a pool of shared meaning. And that's what Tanya was talking about in the prayer, which is being a people of dialogue. I really like that phrase. And trying to find out what's going on for another person before like trying to fix the situation. And I think that's really resonated with a lot of people, is that, what I need to do is find out what's going on before I kind of need to win an argument, because obviously this model's not about winning an argument, but it's about understanding and solving problems. So I think that's been really powerful, and it's the starters that get people in, such as the fact story ask, what are the facts here, what story am I telling, what's the other person's opinion. I really think those little things are light bulb moments for people, because they have short things that they can kind of capture on the run that allows a conversation to be less difficult and be more of an inquiry.
Oh, that's fantastic. And yeah, we talk a lot about that, is bringing out the right skill at the right time, and ensuring that, there's tools in the toolbox. It's not the silver bullet, but what it does create is, at that right time, you're going to be able to apply these skills, and do so with confidence, create that safety. And there's almost a level of predictability that can come within an environment where people understand that we've built this skill set, we know the language that we use. So as you're saying, Daniel, that kind of pool of shared meaning becomes really rich, because there is a predictability, because we've all learnt this. There's a shared way of operating. So I really like that. I think it's really good. Tanya, we talked briefly maybe a couple of weeks ago when I was in Melbourne, around how you've tied these skills to the diocesan priorities a little bit, and that's around obviously faith elements, and how you integrate that into the 2 days of training that you guys lead. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So for us, and like I mentioned earlier, and Daniel and Emma touched on it as well, the Crucial Conversations model aligns really well with our with the pastoral approach that we like to have, as well. So it aligns really well with that understanding yourself, understanding what's happening for you in the conversation, and that's the fact and the story and what you actually want to achieve, but also taking the time to understand where the other person's coming from, to then get the best outcome overall. So it may not end up being the best outcome for you, but it's the best outcome overall. And it just aligns, it really does align so well. And we can really bring that together to align with, the fact that we want the best for our students every day. We want the best for our families in our school community every day. And in order to do that, we need the best for our staff and ourselves every day. So the model aligns really well. And if we think about those concepts of a crucial conversation, every time you're talking to a parent, it's likely to be high stakes for them because you're actually talking about the most important thing in their life. And if we can, and the fact that we can have a model for our staff that's putting that at the forefront to make it safe, not only make it safe for them to have the conversation, but then also the parent. I think we're just putting them in a really good space for their own well-being.
Thanks, Tanya. That's great. Anything to add to that, Emma or Daniel? Good.
I reinforce that sentiment, absolutely.
Yeah. Look, we've got a little bit of time. I'm actually going to jump through to the Q&A a little bit now. If there's anyone that's got any questions, you've got the team here who are more than happy to answer anything you've got. Pop it in the chat if you have. While you're doing that, so please, pop that in if you've got any questions. Probably the question that will come up is, what would you recommend? Like, how do you get going with this? Like, if you're going, where do we start? What do we do? Like, what would your kind of advice be around how you kind of start that conversation within the environments people are dealing with on the call?
I just noticed that someone's got their hand up too. Josh.
Sorry, I didn't see that. Who's that?
Brogan.
Oh, Grogan's. Did you want to put your question in the chat? I don't think we have access to be able to talk on Zoom. So if you want to just type that in.
I'm happy to jump in while Brogan maybe puts his question
that'd be great.
So the question was around where to start, I guess. I mean, I would, jump into a session and be a participant, and whoever that is, whether that's, someone who's potentially going to be the facilitator or those key leaders, to actually be a participant and actually hear the model and actually think about it yourself and how you can actually practically apply the skills. That would be my first step. And then rolling it out once you've understood that it actually aligns with your organizational values, then sharing with others that have those impacts on the ground. But personally, I think you need to go through it as a participant to actually understand how you can actually then share the message.
Brogan, if you've got your question, just type it into the chat there if you've got the capacity to do so. Here we go.
Here we go.
How would you frame the benefits of the program to school leaders, particularly if cost is an issue?
I might have a go at this. So with the work that I guess you might do on culture, and there's a few examples I show of this. So historically, and I think Crucial Conversations mentions these as well, but when we look at disasters, and this is anything from planes crashing, rockets falling apart, bridges collapsing, child safety, they're usually from a position of bystanding or groupthink, and these are all conversational problems. So one way to argue the case for this is, and this has been said in Catholic Ed before, but it's the quality of conversations determines the quality of an organisation. And if we're not having conversations over certain things, the cost of that is usually very high. So a really high performing organisation is one that speaks straightforwardly with candour. And if you're not in that situation, you'll end up paying for it in a really unhelpful way, much in the same way if you don't take care of your health, it'll be an expensive proposition later in your life. So I think about it as the cost of not engaging in this area. So it's more of an investment in your culture.
Yeah, and I was just recently having a conversation with a leader just the other day about, she goes, if only I could send everybody, but time can't, cost can't. So, how can we actually, re-engage? And they've probably had a couple or two or three at the school that have participated and got, had had great outcomes. And I just talked about, have it as part of your leadership agenda. Let's do a 10-minute conversation about how are our crucial conversations going. Let's all just think about it, and having, one or two that have participated, being that champion on the ground and saying, okay, I went to this course, I'm sharing this knowledge. Anyone, I'm happy to talk you through what does it look like. But and having, the visuals around your office and actually having it part of your language day to day and sharing it within your school environments. And having, if it's just about changing some small thing to start with, then that's an amazing achievement.
That's right. Yeah, it's a big part of what we support is it's great to train it, but how are we going to embed it and really keep those skills alive? So finding those champions within any, whether it's a private organization or a schooling environment is absolutely critical. It's important to have leaders be the first ones to kind of kick it through. So we're making sure that they are advocating for the change, because what we're talking about is behavioral change. This is why it is 2 days. If you want to go and just do we want to hack our way to be a better communication, then a half-day thing might be your thing. This is about behavioral change, and that's why we see the outcomes that we do it, with organizations and within education. What we work with is because behaviors change as a result. So it's really important, get those leaders right, get those leaders on board early, ensure that the training is embedded in there, and then really start to how do you measure that impact over time and really see that change. So look, we've got about 3 or 4 minutes to go. Brogan, probably haven't been able to get your question in. That's okay. If there's anything else, pop it in now, but I think we might, if there's anything else from the panel that you wanted to add in at all, or we've covered a lot of ground. I think we might, what we're going to do after this, we're going to send an email out, which will have some resources in to all the participants. So you'll have our details. We're also going to be putting in, Febby, if you can just bring up that last slide. I think Tanya, Emma and Daniel, you've agreed that you're okay to put your emails into that email. So if people wanted to reach out directly, you'll see their emails in there. We'll put these resources in there for you so you can have a read about that. If you wanted to connect with us just to learn more about what we're doing within education, obviously beyond just the 3 dioceses that we've got here today, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm more than happy to walk you through that and give you some insight into what we're doing. But firstly, thank you so much for the panelists. Really appreciate your time and expertise and what you've brought. I think it's been a very practical panel to really get an understanding of what this is all about. And thank you for everyone who's attended. I really appreciate you making the time. I know it's not easy. It's a Friday. Most of you are in schooling environments, so finding a time has been very challenging. But really, thank you for making the time, and really do appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Thanks,
weekend.
everyone.
We'll speak to you soon. Bye.